What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the PHDJ podcast with one of your hosts, Joe Bunn, and my guy right there, Mr. Mike Walter.
How we doing,
Mike?
Joe? How we doing?
We're good. We got a special guest today.
We do have a special guest, and we're going to bring her in a minute, but
Okay.
I need to go back and correct some stuff from 2 weeks ago, episode
Okay.
236. You and I misspoke, and both of them are kind of my fault. First of all, I put you on the spot by asking you about ratchet shit and without giving you time to prep.
Okay.
And a number of listeners pointed out that the songs you named are more trap, whereas the Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, that type of stuff is more ratchet shit. And Barry, one of our great elite entertainers who's a loyal listener, which is rare on my staff. Most of my DJs could give a crap that I have a podcast, but
Same.
Barry listens weekly. And Barry had he texted me, he said, great rule of thumb. Ratchet shit is when they talk about sex. Trap music, they talk about drugs.
Okay.
So
Fair
kind of
enough.
use that as a rule of thumb.
Okay.
And I also misspoke when I said that Prince Royce's Stand By Me was a salsa. And I know that. It's in my system as a bachata. And I misspoke. So if you introduced in the last 2 weeks before hearing this correction, that if you played that song and introduced it as a salsa, and sounded ignorant to your crowd, it is completely my fault.
And a Latin guest ran up and slapped you in the face. We're sorry.
But it also should teach you a lesson. Don't listen to me about Latin music. I am the ultimate gringo.
We are the
I am not an
gringo of
authority.
gringos.
So,
Yes, no.
but anyway, so let's bring our guest in. But those are corrections from episode 236.
All right. Well, sorry, I'm not ratchet enough for you people. Anyway,
I was surprised that Savage was left out of that conversation because it literally says ratchet in
you're right. In the actual chorus.
That actually might be where the term comes from. I mean, similar to hip hop being called hip hop because of Rapper's Delight, hip hop, and that's how. So maybe ratchet shit has gotten its name. So excellent point, Mary. Mary speaking before we even give her a proper.
Sorry.
I know. She just jumped right in on top of us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. The owner of probably one of my favorite DJ company names ever, Toast and Jam, out of the Chicago area, is Mary Nisi, Nisi. Mary, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Mary.
Thank you so much for having me.
You listen, right?
I do.
Like, how long do you think you've been listening?
Not very. I mean, come on, don't put me on the spot like that.
Oh, come on. I mean, like a month, 2 months?
We're going to quiz you about old shows right now. We're going to put you on the spot.
Let's go episode 11.
Yeah.
A task on that whole. I can talk forever about the importance of having a meal in your contract.
I know. I knew that was
really a dead conversation for you guys, and I won't bring it up again. But I got some issues with that.
No, well, do you have an alternative take on it? So you're saying that you put it in your contract?
Oh, it's in my contract for
Okay.
sure. We have they have to pay for food, parking, and a place in a covered location.
Parking, obviously, because you're in Chicago and most of the places that makes total sense. Hey, good for you. If you have it in your contract, and you've never lost a gig over that, I'm assuming.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you've never had somebody say, "Well, we were about to book you, but I don't know if I want to provide a meal."
If anybody ever says to me, "I'd like to hire you, but there's this ancillary cost, it's a problem," I say, then obviously cost is a much more important thing to you than having amazing entertainment at your wedding.
Wow.
So if that is how you feel, then I understand you've got different priorities, and I wish you the best of luck.
Mary's been on 2 minutes and she's dropping bombs. I love it.
Mary is not a tall person, but she is her stature. She speaks like she's a 7'6" person.
I come off a lot taller in real life.
Yeah, she comes off taller on the mic.
So, Mary, like we were saying before we hit record, we love origin stories. I'm always fascinated by how any of us got into this industry. So, tell us how far back and what was your thing that hooked you into the DJ business?
Well, my true origin was when my brother. So I've got lots of older brothers and sisters. I'm the fifth of 6 kids, and they're all really cool. My siblings were very awesome. And my brother had this best friend, Mike Burke, who had every year he would make mix CDs or mix tapes rather, because it was in the 80s. He would make mixtapes that he actually DJ'd on. So he played 2 or 3 songs and he would talk in between. And like I got a mixtape when I was 10 years old that had the Velvet Underground on it. And it was like it opened up the entire universe for me. It had like, really deep cuts, but then he would play like Frank Sinatra, and, then he played the Angry Samoans, and then he would slip in like a Breeders song, and it was, or not the Breeders, the Pixies. And so it was like, it really showed me, it was way different than what radio sounded like, but it got me obsessed with music from a very early age. And so I was always into music, went to a lot of shows. That's how I found my friends when I came to college, was like, were you also at that Smashing Pumpkins, Pearl Jam, Smashing, Red Hot Chili Peppers concert?
We must be near the same age. You don't look my age, but we've got to be. These bands are all like the bands that I love.
You look like you could be her father, Joe. But
I know that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But she's got kids and such, so she's.
Well, how old are you?
I'll be 50 next month.
Mike, do you tell that?
55. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm proud of my age.
You guys look like you're my age. A sprightly 46.
Hey, I knew it was close in age though. When you started naming those bands and the fact that they were touring together and everything else.
Yeah.
Right, keep going. Sorry.
Anyway, so I was always into music, always into rock. That's how I found my friends. And then here in Chicago, there was a Loyola University's radio station, was a community station for many years, and they let like people outside the system come in, and so people from Gen Pop could come in and DJ there. So I started doing a morning drive show there for 7 years, and then a bunch of us split off in 2007 and started. Well, that's a different story. Anyway, I was DJing on WLAW for, and I did the morning show, which you get kind of rabid fans when you do the morning show. And somebody called in one day and asked me to called on the request line and asked me to DJ their wedding. And I was like, okay, how hard can that be? And so I got a 5-disc player and a Discman, and I plugged them into a really crappy mixer, and I had a book of CDs.
Yes.
And I DJ'd a wedding off of a 5-disc changer and a Discman.
Do you remember what you charged?
$350.
Wow.
It's not bad.
Pretty good for a first time out. That's not bad for first time out.
What year was that? What year do you think that was?
2003.
Okay.
2000. I'm actually a lot. I mean, when I heard you guys were doing this in the 80s, I'm like, jangs.
You came in late. Yeah.
All right. No need to make fun of us now.
But anyway, and I'm not making fun. I'm impressed. So
that we're still walking. She's
more so from just the gear handling. That's a backbreaker.
At least it's come down in weight and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. I bought a pair of those EV30s rather. Not that I would have gotten the 50s, but those are a game changer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when you do one wedding, as you know, it gets into the ether, and then other people were like, "Oh, you do weddings? You can do my wedding." And then I worked for a company for a couple of years, 2 seasons, and I helped in the office and kind of learned the ropes, and then split off in 2005 and started Toast and Jam. And I took out an ad in a wedding magazine. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Like there are pieces of paper that were
magazines. Oh, yeah.
Remember magazines?
I took
printed material.
I know. Remember that's how people found you? So I took all the money that I had and I dumped it into a 1/4-page ad in Brides, Chicago. And it made me look like I was more important than I actually, bigger than I actually was. That was like 2 months after I started the company. I took out the ad and then started getting more leads than I could handle for dates. And then I started to mine DJs from the radio station.
Mary, where does Toast and Jam come from?
You toast and then you jam.
Okay. So it's a play on those words. I figured that, but I didn't know.
I know. At first, I didn't get it. I was like, oh, maybe she's a big toast, And then I was like, oh my God, Toast and Jam. I was like, I love this.
My mom called me 6 months after I started the company, and she's like, I just got it. I'm like,
hey, well, Mary, tell Mike though, because you and I talked about this. Because number one, the fact that we never met was kind of mind blowing, and then we just kind of hit it off, and then I was just, and it had so before anybody starts phoning in, why can't girls be DJs? I didn't mean that. I was just impressed that one, I didn't know you, and two, I had no idea how big the company was because I didn't know of the company. Not that I know every DJ in every market, but
it's my fault. I'm bad at networking.
There we go. Well, now you're better because that's how we met, and you're on the show now. So, but tell Mike, about like how many shows y'all do, the kinds of things y'all do. I mean, I'm kind of reading through some of the things you do. You obviously still go out and play as well, which Mike and I both do. Like, kind of talk a little bit about the company now, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely. So, because I am a woman in this industry, I would try to I was like, I'm bringing more women in. Like people would be like, I can't do that. That sounds crazy. But I'm like, no, I can train you. I can show you how it works. And,
Sure.
And so it was mostly women, almost completely women in the company for years. I had one guy that I used to joke I only had around to keep the EEOC off my back. And he was our token male. We literally referred to him as our token male, and I'm like,
on his name tag and his polo shirt.
What's funny is his name is Dustin, and there are like 3 other DJs in Chicago that do weddings whose names are Dustin. It's weird. Okay. I don't know why that's like the DJ Dustin name, but anyway, and then it was the same thing. It's like I would get more leads than I could handle. I had to hire more people, and I would, hey friends, hey DJs, farm out to your friends. So for the most part, most of the DJs that have come to me over the years have been friends of friends or friends of DJs or whatever. And so, and I'm a quality and a quantity person. So, I just will take, we definitely don't take anything that comes our way because we're not cheap. So that's, we have to, not everybody hires us, but in 2018,
in a normal year, normal year, like how many weddings would y'all do?
So like 18 and 19, we hover around 690 to 710 wins.
And your price has gone up from $350, correct?
Yeah.
Considerably.
Although after going to Marquee, I'm actually meeting with Alan Berg, and we're going to do a whole price restructuring thing.
Nice.
Company.
Alan's awesome.
I think I can charge a lot more. Yeah, he's the best. I talked to him yesterday. He's like the greatest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we do, and like, so this year, so right before the pandemic hit, we had 564 weddings on the books for 2020 when we closed down. And so that was horrifying. And
do you know did you keep track of how many you had to postpone?
Well, not like officially, like I don't have like a ticking thing, but like I would say we had maybe like 100 or so that flat out canceled. And so then the rest of them, but then we had I'm sure you guys had to deal with people who like, it's March, I'm optimistically moving to June. And then June
I just did one, and the best man started his toast by saying, so what was this, your 5th date? And the couple was like, yeah, thanks for reminding us.
Wow.
Yeah, they had 5 dates. Yeah.
Wow.
Because like you said, they were optimistic. They kept punting 2 months at a time.
Yeah. And
from March to May, and then to August, and then to October. It was
And then when things were really bad in like November of last year, we had everybody who was punting from. They were like, "Oh, we rebooked for May. I don't think that's going to happen." And then they moved to 2022. And then when things got better in February, they came back and they're like, "Hello, Jake."
We only had a handful of people do that. Come back further. Yeah,
reverse the year.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Whoops! I said 2022. I meant I'm going to do it in August." And so
I became obsessed with that number. We moved 537 weddings. And it was just it was the most heartbreaking thing. We had about 5% cancellation, most of them postponed, which was good. Anyway,
we're still saying awful things to you.
Very rare, Mary. There were a handful, and I got it. I felt bad for them, and I knew they weren't. They were just projecting. They weren't, they weren't specifically mad at me. But I do have to say the vast majority of our couples were grateful that we were working with them, and they were upset about the situation, but not necessarily taking it out on us. So did you have that situation a lot? Did you hear a lot of nasty things?
Yeah, because we had the cancelers all wanted their money back, and I wasn't in a position to do that. And if I did, I wouldn't be sitting here now. And I needed to exist in the future so that.
You could help all the people that were postponing. And we said that.
And so, if we had to keep their deposits, people are like, "You're a monster. I hope you die in a fire."
Oh my God.
We have some bad reviews on our website. People are like, "No toast and jam or wolves in sheep clothing." And like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I know. And it was. But I get it. The thing that sucks is like the pandemic also happened to me and you. Like it wasn't like a fire that just hit your neighborhood. It was like. This is a fire that hit the world. So like the same things you're going through, like why should we both lose? Or why should only I lose? Right. Like it's, whatever. Let's just stop with the past on that stuff. I'm done with COVID. At least I hope I'm done with COVID.
Yeah, I know. So do I. I had this.
And what type? You said in a usual year you're 600 plus. What types of events is Toast and Jazz? Is it all mostly weddings?
Mostly weddings. Mostly weddings. I mean, it's 90. I would say 90% weddings. I mean, our corporate stuff is definitely gone the way of the dodo right now, but I'm sure that's all going to come back.
It will. Hey, I want to touch on this real quick, Mary, before we talk about kind of the main topic though. So, I mean, even just in talking to you, and then I'm sitting here kind of reading your bio as you're speaking. I mean, you're just like me.
That's what we call show prep, by the way.
We read it while we're speaking to you.
It feels warm and inviting, guys. It makes me
Stop
feel
it.
really
Stop it. You are 1,000% what I would call a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I love this. So 4 years ago, you literally bought a building. I know where Logan Square is. I love Chicago. And then so you put Toast and Jam there and then made the rest into a co-working space. Like, kind of tell us about that.
So the building is around the corner from my house.
Okay.
So it's a real short commute. Okay. And it was the Pitchfork Media Building. Are you familiar with Pitchfork?
Yeah.
So in Chicago, some people think that's cool. It means absolutely nothing in real life. But anyway, so Toast and Jam is the second floor, and the first floor is huge. And the listing agent, when I bought the building, was like, "What are you going to put down here?" I'm like, "I don't know. I guess I'll be a landlord." Like, I don't know. It wasn't like I wasn't like a business plan. Or like,
right.
I tend to.
But you bought a building. I'm like.
I jump off buildings and then wait and build my wings on the way down.
Right, on the way.
My method of
like I'm reading the bio as I'm recording.
Yeah,
Same principle.
Same principle. And so the listing agent was like, "You should put a co-working space in here." And I said, "What's a co-working space?" Because I haven't worked for anybody else.
That was like right when they were starting to come around.
And so I Googled co-working spaces, and at the time, so I had my kid, and then I kind of had like been kind of making myself redundant within the company. Like I wasn't taking strangers' weddings. I was only doing stuff for people that I knew. And I was kind of bored and didn't really know what I was doing with my life, because Toast and Jam was, I had a business manager that ran everything. And like, I kind of didn't know, I was kind of having a midlife crisis. And so I'm like, oh, I'll start this co-working space and that'll be my new thing. And so, I'm like, this is just administrative stuff. So I started the co-working space, and after 6 months of running it, I'm like, I don't think I'm good at this. So I wound up hiring a manager, and they run that now. But
it took off though, right? I mean, like it. Yeah. I mean, it's like.
Yeah. I mean,
it's called ampersand. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, because
really cool.
I ampersand because it brings things together. It's work and play. It's events and exactly.
You are very good at naming things.
Yes, man. Yeah. I was about to say that's a great name.
I have named a lot of things.
I'm not good at that.
What's your kid's name?
Sebastian.
Very cool.
Great name. That's a cool name.
Named after Lil Sebastian from Parks and Rec.
I thought you were going to say Sebastian Bach from Skid Row.
He doesn't know if that's part of it. That's a high school dream come true right there.
I love that guy.
I mean,
the greatest hair.
He's aging well, not aging poorly.
Really? I hadn't seen him. Now show prep. I'm Googling Sebastian Bach current pictures. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and I've talked about this in my seminars. I know you were there at Marquee when I mentioned this, even just going into your website, do you have same-sex couples? Do you have couples of every race, color, creed? We work for everybody. Mike works for everybody. Y'all probably work for everybody. Like, show the people you work for. This is the world. This is the world we live in. This is the United States. It's the melting pot. So I know we want to talk a little bit about that and some things that we can do that Mike and I might not be doing, that y'all do, that the listeners should be doing to include everybody, which means at the end of the day, more business for you, for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially right now in this day and age, you can't just first of all, you can't just say like, I like everybody, black, brown, pink, all your money is the same color as everybody else's. You can say that all you want, like you said, but you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. This all started back when, so civil unions were legalized in Illinois before gay marriage was federally recognized. And when that happened, I was looking at my website and I was like, ooh, my website's really heteronormative and cisgendered. And the thing is that there are subtle things you can do to the way you market yourself and the way you put yourself out there that maybe for a regular cisgendered couple, heterosexual couple, is not going to necessarily notice these differences, but same-sex couple, people who might be trans, non-binary, they will see these things and realize that they're accepted. And that's the biggest, most important thing you can do is remove bride and groom from your website.
Yes.
And it turns into couple, newlywed, the client, you, just saying you. Because when you see bride and groom and you identify as neither a bride nor a groom, or maybe it's two brides and two grooms, you're going to look at that and be like, they don't speak my language. They don't want my business. There's somebody else out there that will do this. And those people are everywhere. You might live in the middle of Brainerd, Minnesota, and you're like, no, there's no gay people here. There's no trans people here. They're there.
Yeah.
They're there. And the world is becoming more accepting. And so if you are alienating them now, somebody else is not going to, and they're going to get their business. So from a straight up just taking off bride and groom, and also changing the way you speak at weddings, like Joe at the top of the podcast, you said, "Ladies and gentlemen." There are some people that identify as neither lady nor gentleman. So when we do our introductions, we've actually removed "ladies and gentlemen" from when we do our intros. So it's
even when you're training like your new people,
absolutely
take it out.
It's just all right, folks, esteemed guests of the couple. Like we don't say "ladies and gentlemen" anymore. And again, Grandma doesn't notice that you didn't say "ladies and gentlemen," but it's quite possible that someone in that room feels more included and more accepted and more part of the party by just those little tiny tweaks.
And it doesn't mess your show up any. I mean, it's just I call people folks all the time. Hey, folks, what's going on? Like
everybody's a folk.
Great.
I'm trying to think if family and friends is inclusive, because I think I've replaced ladies and gentlemen with family and friends a lot.
I like that.
Am I treading on any thin ice by saying family and friends?
You left the vendors out.
Oh, screw them. They're not booking me for it.
They already love Mike Walter.
Yeah, the vendors are not an esteemed guest of the couple.
That's true. They got paid to be there.
Yeah.
You say like friends, family, and tertiary people we had to invite.
Tertiary.
Dad's friend from work, I don't know.
Who's only here because he's a big gift giver.
Exactly.
I'm going to come up there and do a wedding with Mary. I have a feeling she just lets it loose on the mic. You know what I mean? Like those things that just come in her head. She just I'm going to go ahead and say this.
We're kind of known for not being real hammy on the microphone, but if I had a problem. One of my mics a couple weeks ago, this one venue is like a black hole where radio frequencies aren't good at, and my wireless microphone kept going out, and I moved rooms, and I'm like, maybe that'll fix it, and it was dumb. I shouldn't have trusted it, and so the dad starts speaking. He's like, so I'm like, change of plans. And so I pulled my wired microphone out, went
nice,
and gave it to him. But yeah, I mean, I have an improv background.
Right. So I can tell.
Doesn't everyone from Chicago have an improv background?
That's a valid point. KC claims to have
I think that's like a class you take in 7th grade in Chicago, mandatory.
It's like typing. It's and when you hit 7th grade, you either take typing or improv.
Improv. I make a joke that after you spent 5 years in this city, one day you just show up on a black box theater, yes-anding someone, and you're like, wait, why? How did this happen? It was like I was
teleported there.
I was on the train, and now I have to figure out a location that fits on this stage. Like this is uncomfortable.
Oh, okay. So what else? I love these things. So far, so good.
So the other thing so then once gay marriage became legal, and we always make sure that we have same-sex couples. We have a section on our website called Sweet Talk, which is where it's our own little Yelp. It's we have a picture from the wedding and then a review. And I think it's good to have those because you don't own Yelp, Instagram, or Facebook. So if one day those things disappear and that's where all of your marketing comes from, you're screwed. So we like to have a little place on our website that just belongs to us. Mm-hmm. And we always make sure that we've got, and luckily we have a lot of them. We do, I would say we at least 5 times a month we've got a same-sex couple. But I will say that our clients tend to be very white, and my DJs tended to be really white, and that really became clear to me last summer when everything was going on with George Floyd, and I hadn't really thought through when I would be like, oh well, all my DJs are white because that's who applies, and I am at the mercy of who applies. I can't make people of color apply. I can't make LGBTQ people apply. And then I realized, oh wait, if you're only going to all of my white women DJs to find other DJs, then their friends are probably mostly white, and so we need to diversify where we're finding our talent because I can't just keep going back to the same pool. So I put a thing on Indeed just to see what would happen. And almost exclusively the people that came to me were people of color and people who were queer. And I'm like, well, look at that. And so when we start having more people of color and of differing gender identities like on our website, and we added pronouns to the website, like what we identify as, so she, her, they, their, he, her. Added that to the bio.
I even saw that on your signature on your email, I think.
Yeah, and we added that to our bios, and I will tell you, the number of people who comment on that when they contact us, like, we're really excited to see that you included pronouns on your website. That's awesome. Wow. Or I have 2 DJs that identify as non-binary. We've had people who specifically ask for them. It's a straight couple, but they were asking for the non-binary DJs because they want to make sure that the vendors at their wedding are representing a cross section of a more diverse reality of the world versus just having a bunch of.
Oh wow! So even they're thinking about inclusion and diversity, even though the couple is hetero. Oh,
yeah. I mean, and I'm in Chicago. I'm in a liberal city.
No, I understand. Yeah, and I was going to say, I mean, you're not even being in Chicago, not even being liberal, but just Chicago is a massive city. You know what I mean? Like so we might do same-sex wedding every other month. You know what I mean? Maybe 4 or 5 a year. You're doing 4 or 5 a month. I mean,
but you could be doing more because
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know that we couldn't be getting more if we were doing some of these subtle changes. I guess is what I'm saying.
And you know what gay weddings are? Super fun.
They are. I agree with that. I
was going to answer that question by saying weddings. Gay weddings are fun. They're weddings. Some of them I've done some same-sex weddings that weren't off the chain, and I've done some that were. And that to me is the point that there's nothing different about a gay wedding than a wedding. I mean, once you get past the gender of the married couple, you have families involved, you have couple. I don't know if you saw my post recently. I did a 2 gentlemen, and one of the groom's mothers was a bitch. She apparently, and worse than a bitch. I'd use the C word, but she apparently at the engagement party, she got drunk and talked about how she didn't approve of the wedding. For some reason, he still invited her because mothers have a pull. Yeah. And then during cocktail hour, she did the same thing and she was escorted out. So now literally a half hour before introductions, he's shaken. And he's saying, and he's actually said to me, do you mind if I replace my mother's Sundance with I have a very special woman in the room who was sort of a mother growing up. I know, Mary, I was like fighting tears for this moment. And I was like, of course not, David. So we played a song. I invited this woman up. I introduced her as a mother figure. And then 2 other women cut in because they were all apparently his mother was so horrible growing up that this guy had multiple surrogate mothers.
Of him. Wow.
But you know what it taught me? That gay people have effed up families, straight people have effed up families. Like, it's just that there's no difference other than the gender. And we do. And listen, I've always promoted, instead of saying bride and groom on the microphone, because that's just generic, say their first names. And so if you're in the habit constantly of saying first names at a wedding, you won't trip up. You won't accidentally say bride and groom and go, oh, damn, it's 2 brides today. Just say their first names all the time.
I'm embarrassed to say that the first same-sex wedding I did was between 2 men, and I was doing the introductions, and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in our bridal party," and didn't even catch it. Like, I just
right.
The planner came up to me and he's like, "They're not mad," and my butthole fell into my knees. I'm like, "What? What did I do?" And he's like, "You called it the bridal party," and I'm like, "Oh my fuck yeah!" And he's like, "They're not mad, but you might want to fix that." And I have never done that again. Now, party, wedding party, wedding party. Like, unfortunately, you have to make a mistake sometimes in order to
trust me,
in order to fix it.
Well, and I think the whole point, they're not mad, is I think most people who are sensitive to certain things, they give most people a little bit of a leeway and some time. Yes. I mean, for example, in the last decade, the R word has become verboten. We don't say retarded anymore. Oh, yeah. But it's taken a while for that because, I mean, my wife works for ARC, which ARC stands for the American or the Association of Retarded Citizens. Yes. So at some point, we accept the fact that that was the word for special needs, but now it's not. So I think most of society gives people a little bit of a leeway. If you're still saying bridal party a decade from now, hey, it's time to, but this is something to work on now as we get more inclusive, to use the word that we're using.
Man, I couldn't agree with that more, Mike. That's a great point. You know, everybody deserves a little bit of grace, a little bit of patience. We're all learning. We all want to be better people. Like, I mean, I do.
I would would correct you on all. I think 99% of society. I think
maybe I meant all three of us. Maybe,
okay, that's 100% of this podcast.
100% of this podcast wants to be better people, more inclusive.
Right. And that was, as soon as it was pointed out to me that the R word was offensive, I didn't say, but it never was. I went, okay, I'll remove it from my vocabulary.
Right.
There's plenty of other words I can replace it with. I think some people get stuck in their ways and just say, well, you can't tell me what's offensive and not what's not.
It was okay in 1967. Why isn't it okay now?
Right, exactly.
It's the same person that won't change their gear. Still got carpet covered speakers. The same guy that's wearing the tuxedo with the jewel clasp at the top. With the matching sparkle cummerbund and vest. Like it's that guy or girl. Like it's
so if we have a listener who is saying, well, I'm not going to go through my website and remove bride and groom, blah, blah, blah. I think Mary is making a great point. We're not talking, you don't have to redo every piece of marketing that you have, but as you do, just consider these things and consider who you want to market to down the road. I think it's great advice.
Or don't do these shows. Because there are people going to be listening to this being like, I don't want to do those type of shows. I don't want to work for them. You know what? Then that's fine. You. Don't do that. That's you.
Then you can dinosaur your way.
Again, 100% of this podcast wants to do that.
I will tell you that I used to do about 500 events a year. And once we started doing these changes, we went up to 700. So I'm just saying.
That's
if you have that attitude of, I don't want to do those shows. And this is one of those things, Joe, I talked about at the PHDJ workshop that we used to do. Millennials, and Mary brought out this point that it was a heterosexual couple that wanted to book the non-binary DJ. Millennials, for the most part, want to work with companies that share their values. And we have become a lot more accepting in this society, thank God, of same-sex and non-binary and everything else. And so if you say, well, I don't want to do their weddings, understand that you're also eliminating a lot of millennials who are straight heterosexual, but want to be more inclusive and will look at you and go, like Mary just said, you're a dinosaur. We don't want your business. So you risk losing a lot more than just your same-sex weddings in your market.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe you need to really have a soul searching in your heart and say to yourself, why don't you want those weddings? Like, what is? I mean, I don't understand people who can be that filled with hate. And
I
want to go down this road, but I
don't either.
I guarantee it's their Bible told them something. I read something in my Bible about man shouldn't lay with man. I guarantee that's going to be part of it.
Why all of a sudden he's speaking in a Southern accent?
And by the way, 2 chapters before that, they talk about no tattoos. So you have a tattoo and you quote the Bible as why you're against same-sex marriage. You might want to
redo your investigation.
Sorry, Joe. We just lost hundreds of listeners. Sorry.
I mean, the fact that you've got a woman on here is probably pretty shocking to see.
You are, Mary, you are not our first female that we've had on.
True.
No, I know. But one of the things I also want to...
She's one of the best, if not the best. Probably one of the best guests, quite frankly. I've laughed a lot this morning, and I hardly ever laughed this early.
What I was thinking about was how when you go to a wedding where the catering staff has to wear tuxedos and then the woman's wearing a boxy man's tuxedo because they didn't bother to get one that fit her. And she just looks sad and ridiculous. That's one of those things that I absolutely can't stand. It's you couldn't have gotten an outfit for her that fit her body, to make her feel included.
Cute. Or
attract, feeling comfortable and one of the team. I mean, I will say that I have been doing this job for 18 years. I've been DJing weddings.
Yeah.
And I can probably count on one hand the number of weddings I've gone to where someone hasn't said to me, I've never seen a woman doing this job before.
My sister gets it every weekend. She just started. Every weekend. They're blown away.
It sucks. And here's the thing. They think they're complimenting you. They think they're look at you. You're you can do anything, you women. And it's no, it makes me feel like I'm taking a place a man should be taking over.
Oh,
it makes me feel like, oh shit, I better fucking perform. I'm sorry, can I wear this thing?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm I better DJ my ass off because if I don't, and I make one mistake. I remember I did a wedding once where I had one bad transition. We all have them.
Sure.
Shoes in a dryer, yeah. And at the end of the night, this guy came up to me. He's like, you were great. You had one really bad transition.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
And I'm like,
That's balls right there.
Wow.
Male DJ, would you have gone up to either of you guys and said,
Mike would have slapped him in the face.
I was flabbergasted. It was like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like,
it had to be a DJ though. Did he say he was a DJ? It had to be.
I mean, probably. And that's the other thing. The guy,
It's just a hater.
I mean, you guys must get this too because
Mike
I
always-
love it. He's
Mike
a
always-
DJ
and
who's
he's off
guest
on a
at
Saturday
wedding,
night.
but not right off on a Saturday night, and
I
he
knew
wasn't hired to do this.
I knew
wedding.
Mike was going to say
right off
that.
the bat. I go,
Mike,
go back to your table.
Yeah.
I'm working.
yeah, I love it when someone comes up to me and says, I was a wedding DJ. I'll be watching you closely.
Jeez.
One of my a couple weeks ago had a dad that came up to her at the end of the night or before the wedding and was like, he like told her he was a DJ. She's like, cool, whatever. Then at the end of the night, he's like, you're pretty good. There were some things I would have done differently, and turned on his heel and walked away.
Wow.
Not even told her. Like,
Right. Yeah, right.
white feeling on the way home, being like, what did I do differently? What did I do wrong? What did that?
Right.
And it's one of these things where it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like,
No, bury it. Yeah, on to the next one, man. I just
Right.
we just got a.
The comeback to that is that's why I worked this event and you didn't,
You
because
sat
there are
there.
things you would have
Right.
done differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, this has been good. Mary, any other points you want to make on this before we put a bow on it?
I don't know. This is fun.
It was fun. we should do this again.
I think everyone should add pronouns to their website and make sure it doesn't say bride and groom. It says couple, they, them, whatever.
I'll plus one that and also add as well as on the planners that go out. Like if you use DJ Event Planner, where it says bridal or wedding party, it doesn't say bride and groom. Now, ours now says I don't even remember what it says. I don't even think it says bridesmaids and groomsmen. I think it says.
So, Joe, you don't have a separate planner for same sex?
We used to, but now it's just all in one, and we just changed the verbiage. Yeah.
Okay.
We did too, but it was too hard. So it's just client 1, client 2, wedding party.
Yeah. We even, I remember there was a friend of mine, just quick story, and she had these his and her glasses. One had a little stash on it, and one had something on it, maybe a veil or something. And she owned a furniture store, and she was going out of business. She was like, do you want these glasses? They were highball glasses. And I was like, how much? And she goes, just come get them. I mean, cases of them. So we got them, and then I got these boxes made with our brand on it, and it said, in case of emergency, open these or something like that.
Yeah.
But then, and it was the two glasses, the his and hers. But then we had some that had like a little star on them, and I'm like, okay, the red star is his and his, and then we had some hers and hers because like the couples would come in sometimes, and we had only been speaking to one party, and they had never said it's a same-sex wedding. We didn't care, quite frankly, but they'd walk in, and so I had this whole row of glasses, and the guys knew like they'd see the couple, and this was a gift they got when they came and so they would grab the one with the yellow star and be like, boom.
Yeah.
They'd open it up and go, hers and hers, and we'd be like, got her. Yeah, exactly. It was like they were like, yeah, this company's dialed in.
Well, we had one of my DJs a couple weeks ago had the maid of honor had came out to the bride a couple months earlier that she was transitioning from female to male, and wanted to be called the second in command. Like that she didn't want to be called maid of honor, wanted to be called second in command. Again, I think that's a little bit of a flex, but whatever.
It is a flex.
So the DJ came, or they came up to Nora to be like, just say like, hey, just so you know. And Nora was like, oh, first in command or second in command. Got it. And she like burst into tears because somebody had
cared.
Yeah, they recognized and respected, where they were at. So
that's cool.
It's amazing how, this isn't asking for a total rebrand. This isn't a total marketing.
No.
These are all little things, listening and caring. And Mike, like you said, it's like millennials care about value systems. And I think hopefully that will extend to Gen Z and whatever letters people come up with down the line, that we're just getting into a much more inclusive place where people can actually care.
What is the Martin Luther King quote? The arc of the universe bends towards, is it equality, I believe?
Towards justice.
Justice. Okay. Yeah, it does. It may take a while. My mom visited this past weekend and we were talking about it. In my mom's lifetime, mixed race marriages were illegal. And I mean, nobody would, even the most conservative kook job in the world wouldn't now make an argument that a black person and a white person shouldn't get married. So if you think that that same-sex weddings should continue to be legal, or back then, you are going to be as antiquated as someone who still thinks that today. So it does. The arc of the universe bends towards justice and equality. It takes a while. That's all.
I love that quote.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to tease next week? Do
Yes.
you have a
So
teaser
next
for me?
week will be the week before the DJ Expo,
Yeah.
and we are having Daryl Jacobson and Mike Alivers on to kind of do a preview of DJ Expo. We're going to be looking at the seminars and the evening activities. Mary, any chance that you'll be joining us in Atlantic City for the DJ Times Expo?
I will not. I did not know about it. Are you guys going to Wedding MBA?
I will be there.
Oh, Mike will be there.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm
You get to see
speaking
Mike.
actually at Wedding
Oh,
MBA.
yeah, I'm going to that. I'm on the wait list for that Scottsdale thing.
Oh, you are? All right. Let me see if I can pull some strings. She takes a sip of her beverage.
You're talking to the right guy there,
You are
Mary.
talking to the right
well
guy.
done.
I would love
Perhaps
to see you
being a
there.
guest on the show will get you up there.
What's it going to take to get me in Crate Hackers? That thing's been
Oh,
closed.
that's easy. Oh, I'll send you a link to that in a second. That's actually, I'll just add you as a member right now. So Mike, Mary, this is awesome. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I think it was a great conversation. Mary will definitely get you back on for some other topics and to just bring a well needed dose of estrogen to the show every once in a while. But she's awesome. Mike, any final thoughts before we wrap it?
I'm hungry. I'm going to go have some toast and jam.
Oh, there it is, folks.
No, we actually have it in our not in our contract, but like in our like final meeting prep thing. It's like, please include a meal for the DJ. They can't live on toast and jam alone.
Nice.
Yes, yes. I love it, guys. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week.